College football fans, here we go. Another version of the Boss and the Sauce Show coming at you right now.
Yeah, we ain't, going nowhere. We can't be stopped now. It's the Boss and the Sauce Show, y'all. It's college football, man. It's days away. My energy level's all the way up, man. I'm so excited. I'm right here today with my man, BigRagoo. What's up, BigRagoo?
Hey, big man. It's the ACC time. And we used to call it almost a conference, but you know, ACC, you know me. We're going to break it down, me and you. We're going to preview the teams in the conference. We're going to talk about who's hot, who's not. And we're going to give these people some knowledge they're going to need to handicap these games and cash some tickets.
Yep, and guess what? You don't even need to pull out your pen and pad because these videos are going to be up online all year. You come back to them and revert to some of the stuff that we say. Today, we're gonna definitely make sure we let y'all know what's going on with each team's coaching situations, how many returners they got coming back, what they did last year, and what we think they're going to do this year. So, if y'all ready, go ahead, click on your seatbelts, put in your headphones, because we're about to take a ride on the Boss and the Sauce Show with the ACC College Football Preview right now.
We're right back at it on the other side of the ACC. We're going to play around with the Duke Blue Devils. That's right, the Devils. We just got through talking about the Deacons. Now we're talking about the Devils. So we got some church going up on here. So now let's look at the Blue Devils themselves. The Blue Devils coming off a pretty good year last year, 8-5, 3-5 in the conference. So they struggled in conference a little bit. They lost their number one player last year in the draft. Daniel Jones, he got drafted by the Giants. He's a quarterback. Of course, the team is coached by David Cutcliffe. We all know who he's heir apparent to Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, great quarterbacks coach, special guru when it comes to that position. But he's going to inherit a guy named Quentin Harris, who's also a senior, and I think he's next up, but he's not going to be at the same level that Jones was. But he should get some offensive production out of him. He's a good-looking kid, does play pretty well in the backup role. So I look for big things for him this year. They are bringing back 9 guys on defense. They got a bunch of tackles, linebackers, cornerbacks. So defensively speaking, they were pretty solid right up the middle. They ranked like 15th on field position. And then they also ranked on turnover margin was a little bit weak. They were like ranked 102 overall out of 130 teams. So they're not creating a whole lot of stuff as far as turnover goes, but they do have a lot of upperclassmen coming back on defense. So I think we get some improvement there. And then also scheduling wise, we'll get into that in a minute. But I think the Blue Devils, I think they're probably looking at about a 5-7 or a 6-6 season. Schedule-wise, it's going to be a little tough for them this year. What do you think about this, DJ?
Well, Coach David Cutcliffe, he's coming in this one, and the schedule is all packed against him in this time. But he's only receiving 5 back on offense, 6 on defense. Now, like you say, you do got good quarterback coaches over there, and this running back, Deion Jackson, is a nice highlight. He did a pretty good job last year. 8-5 was really nice for them last year. I don't think they can really achieve that 8-5 again with just the running back coming back on offense. They got a left guard. They got a center, right guard, and a tackle. So they solid on the line, got a running back behind it. But this ACC division, they like to pass the ball. And you can see that all that last year, they gave up 209 yards on the ground, ranked 105th. So, you know, they got to come in and play some defense at some point. But these guys throw the ball in the air in this conference. And this one, I just don't think they're going to get back to 8-5, BigRagoo. That's all I pretty much got to say about the Devils. What you think about it?
To them because they open up at Alabama, so they'll probably get smacked around real early there. And then they got North Carolina, AT&T, and then Middle Tennessee. And, I mean, they'll probably squeeze at least 1 or 2 of those out. And then they got to play at Virginia Tech, which is going to be another tough game for them. So they could very well be 1-3 or 2-2 to start the first month of the season, and then from there, they go on to Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, Virginia, North Carolina, and then your team, Notre Dame. So they're probably looking at about a 5-7, maybe 6-6 season, and they might miss the bowl season this year because, especially on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, we know defensively they're a little bit weak, and it's a rebuild mode for offense. Quarterback coaching wise, they're always going to be right there, but it's putting the pieces in place to help that quarterback out where they're going to be lacking.
Now, one thing Duke was good for last year was some upsets, and the secondary that they have over there is pretty solid. They're bringing back 3 safeties, a corner, and they're bringing back pretty much the whole defensive line. So they pretty much stacked on defense to cause some upsets in there, but still don't think they'll reach over 8 wins like last year. I give them 6 or 7 wins top. And just for Clemson to take another note from the other side of their conference, this team right here is opening with Alabama. On the schedule, they also have Notre Dame, Syracuse, Miami, Virginia Tech, and Virginia after coming off an 8-5 season and beating Temple in the bowl game. So, Clemson, y'all take note, man. Y'all over there, y'all playing it soft. I don't like that. Any last words, BigRagoo?
Not at this moment, but we'll be right back for another interview on the next team on the Boston and Sauce Show.
Whoop, there it is. Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Let's check this team out. Now, first notable note everybody must know is that this year, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are moving away from the triple option. They're going into more of a spread offense per orders of the coach, Collins, and they're going to spread that out. They tried it a little bit last year. It worked for them a little bit. So it's probably going to be more like a rebuilding year to bring this spread offense, but there's also always a possibility that things click and work and that they be a top contender. Now, coming off a 7-6 year last year, they only received 3 back on offense, 4 on defense. This got to be one of the worst returning starter groups in the ACC. Now, on offense, they return a wide receiver, Jalen Camp, a left tackle, and a left guard. On defense, they receive 2 linebackers, a cornerback, and a strong safety, which is not much to offer. This is going to see just how good their recruiting is. This coach is going to be his first year here. He's going to be dealing with the other coaches' recruits. Probably going to be a dumpster fire over there. But they're bringing in tight end Tyler Davis, a graduation transfer from UConn, was the best weapon on the Huskies' offense last year. Davis has the skills coach couldn't want for a tight end, and he's playing at a position not used by the program in 2007. Shane Gailey's last season as head coach. Davis should be a key weapon. So they're bringing over graduate transfer at tight end. Maybe that bulks up the offense, but probably not enough. I'm really down on this team this year. I don't expect them to do much, but I'm excited to see how the spread offense works out for them. Any words for you on the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, BigRagoo?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough year for these guys. You know, like you said, Paul Johnson leaving, retiring, and the first-year coach coming in, Jeff Collins, is going to run the pro-style spread offense. Recruiting-wise, you know, they don't have a lot of guys coming back on both sides of the ball. They do have some underclassmen that they were talking about. They were taking some snaps prior games, you know, late in the season last year. So I don't know how much that's going to carry over to their advantage or not. But anyways, a whole new system there, whole new coaching, you know, lack of talent on the returning starter side. So it's definitely going to be fade material here. Just not a whole lot that's going to happen positive, just a learning experience and a rebuilding mode for this team right now. The whole team is going to be revamped. It's going to be something that they're going to probably find their way in a lot of games, a lot of trial and error, and we'll see what happens.
Well, now this team right here, they open up at Clemson. You know, Clemson always looking for a team that's down. So they open it up first game at Clemson. They also got to see Miami at Miami. They got to see Virginia at Virginia. They also got to see Virginia Tech. And they end the season playing Georgia. So they have their work all cut out for them this year. This may be a fade team right here, as a matter of fact. I definitely don't see more than about 5 or 6 wins tops for the Yellow Jackets this year. Any last words on the Yellow Jackets, BigRagoo?
Yeah, if you're giving them 5 or 6 wins, you're being pretty generous, I think. I'm thinking more like 3 or 4, but hey, it's football. The college kids, anything can happen. So we'll see if the motivation plays some kind of role. Hopefully, they don't get their spirit bust early, because they do have some tough games early in the season. You know, they could easily be like 1-6 going into October, but we'll see what happens. You know, maybe good things come out of camp for these guys, and then they transition some of that in the field. But I doubt it. We'll see what happens.
You know, after you saying that and I look a little deeper into it, yeah, 5 is giving them a lot, because even their out of conference small games are big games. They have to play South Florida. They have to play the Citadel, the Citadel is a young team, you know, kind of on the rise right there. Got to watch out for Citadel. And then they got to play Temple. They just don't get a break nowhere on here. You know, even the mediocre teams. Pittsburgh can beat them. North Carolina, they may get a win out of North Carolina. They may get a win out of Citadel. And that's all I can really vouch for on this one. Everybody else probably going to run the tables on Georgia Tech. It's going to be sad for all my folks out there in Atlanta with those nice Georgia Tech jackets and stuff with the little B on it. I always like those little B's and stuff on the jackets.
It might get stung by that bee.
Hey, you probably can catch if you're a Georgia Tech fan, you could probably catch a lot of the gear at the 99-cent store, 2 for 99 cents. Beanies, hats, T-shirts, all that good stuff. But that's it for Georgia Tech right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. Let's keep it moving. And who's up next?
You know it. We're talking about the Canes this time, the Miami Hurricanes. Just south of me, about an hour, 2 hours down the road, we're looking at Manny Diaz taking the helm at this team. He had a short-term job for about a day with Temple, and then Mark Richt stepped down, and next thing you know, Manny Diaz is the head coach. He's the guy who invented the turnover chain, and we know about the turnover chain down in Miami. At the same time, they got a quarterback battle going on. Last year, a kid named N'Kosi Perry was the starter. Now they bring in quarterback. His name is Tate Martell. He's a top 5 recruit. Hopefully they're expecting big things for him. It's going to be a battle in the quarterback position. They got Manny Diaz first year, like I said, and they bring in Dan Enos, who's also an Alabama coach. And if you heard of a guy named Jalen Hurts, he's the guy that kind of ran their schemes and things. So he's going to bring a lot of RPO to this team, and you're going to run that pro-style offense. And defensively speaking, we know what Miami's all about there. They're going to get their job done in the trenches. They're going to create some great opportunities for their team, good field position battles. And I look for big things for Miami as far as opportunities go. And speaking of turnover chains, I'm going to turn it over to my guy, DJ Big.
Got my turnover chain ready, y'all. Yes. And guess what? Manny Diaz, first year coach over here at the Hurricanes, he's back up the bat, and he had 3 linebackers, Michael Pickney, Shaq Quarterman, Zach McLeod, all ready to go to the NFL, and decided to stay one more year right here with the Hurricanes. So the turnover chains is definitely going to be back in action on the defense that was ranked number 4, giving up a total of 276 yards per game. But they bled on offense, ranked 104, total offense of 358 yards per game, 28 points per game. They definitely have to get that up. Now, Here's a little transfer news right out of the Lindy magazine. Top new corner Tate Martell. The Hurricanes got the news just before the start of spring practice that the Ohio State transfer will be immediately eligible. Now that opened it up for a three-way competition at quarterback over here at Miami. So they're really trying to do some things to get this offense going over here. But they only returned 4 on offense. Wide receiver Jeff Thomas, a tight end, left tackle, and a left guard. It's always good to get a few linemen together. I was a lineman myself. You know, all you need is about 3 good linemen, and we could work the other 2 in becoming good players, you know, by leadership. So I'm high on Miami to do good this year. They're coming off a 7-6 season. A lot of people, analysts, predictions, cappers, all that, they kind of down on Miami. They don't think they're gonna put it together. But I'm rooting for the Hurricanes and the turnover chain to get it back going. Any last words on this Miami Hurricane team over here?
Yeah, a lot of people you say are down on Miami, which, I mean, they talk about Manny Diaz being a first-year coach. Realistically, he's not a first-year coach. He's a first-year head coach, but, you know, he's from that. He's an alma mater at Miami. The players love him. They're going to rally around him. And even though I'm a big-time FSU fan, I think Miami's probably going to – they might overachieve just on that aspect of things because they're going to be pumped up. They're going to be ready to play. They open up against the Florida week 0 in Orlando. I think that's going to be a game that's going to be hard-hitting, defensive battle all the way around. Florida's going to give them a fight. You know, Florida's not going to be no slouch. They got a lot of defensive players too. So I like Miami a lot. I don't think they'll probably win the ACC, but I look for them to be top 2 team in the conference.
Now the athletic directors, they help Manny Diaz with a lookout with the schedule right here. Now they do open against Florida, which is going to be, first game of the season. No one knows what really been going on each side. This is kind of like a down home Florida game right here. Miami versus Florida in Orlando, Florida. And it's going to be a good testament of the team as a total. They win this game, or even if they play very well in this game, keep the game under, they're going to be fired up. And guess what they get after that? At North Carolina, Bethune-Cookman, Central Michigan. They might be up for a challenge with West Virginia and Virginia, but then they get Georgia Tech, Pittsburgh, and Florida State, who all can be suspect. They get Louisville, FIU, and they finish at Duke. This team can definitely get 9 wins this season, maybe even 10. I only see 1 or 2 spots that they really could catch an L, which may be the Virginia Tech game and the Florida game. But other than that, let's pull out those turnover chains and get 10 wins. Any last closing marks on this game? On this team, I'm sorry.
Yeah, good to go on that. I mean, all the remarks we said back and forth, look for Miami to overachieve and get some W's, a lot more than the L's, that's for sure.
You heard it right here on the Boss and the Star Show. Miami Hurricane, who is up next? Yes. Right back at you. The Boss and the Star Show with North Carolina Tar Heels, a.k.a. the Tar Babies. Here they go, coming off a 2-9 season last year. Fired the head coach, sends in Mac Brown on his second tenure over here at North Carolina, but he coached back here way back in the 80s. It probably doesn't even make any sense to mention it, but, you know, it's new school right here. He's the man of the hour now, and he gets back 5 on offense, 7 on defense. Now, on offense, he doesn't get a quarterback or a running back. He gets 2 wide receivers, a tight end, a right tackle, and a center. Now, it's always good to get a center on offense because you can do a lot of things with a good center as far as your running game. Now, on defense, he gets back a defensive end, a defensive tackle, a linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties. This team should have a good secondary on this one. Last year, the defense in passing was ranked number 64. But total, they were giving up 447 yards per game, ranked 105. So they definitely got their work cut out for them. and they got to do a better job this year. I don't know too much about the coach. If Mac Brown's gonna be the guy to get it back together, but with his experience and being an announcer and up to date in the game and all that, I expect Mac Brown to definitely do better than 2-9 this year. So, BigRagoo, what you think about this North Carolina Tar Heels team?
Yeah, it's going to be a new look Tar Heels, that's for sure. Mac Brown stepping in, like you said. Now, Mac Brown is kind of a culture guy, so what he's going to do is try to work the room, so to speak. He's going to get in that locker room. He's going to pump those kids up. He's going to let them buy into the system that he's going to put in. And speaking of systems, they did bring in a new coordinator on defense, Jay Bateman, who was the Army defensive coordinator. So Mac Brown went out and got him. And on defense, they do have, I believe, like six starters or six returning starters, and 5 of those 6 are seniors, I believe. And so they'll have something to work with there. They're going to have to make a decision on the quarterback. They have 2 quarterbacks right now, Sam Howell and Cade Ford. Now, Sam Howell was a commitment to Florida State, and Mac Brown kind of flipped them. They're both freshmen, so they're going to have to get that quarterback on, get them rolling pretty quick. And he's always been a real stickler for special teams, Brown has. And he's a disciplinarian. I think they've got nowhere to go but up. We'll just see how quick they can get things going in Chapel Hill. So look for them to kind of try to change the culture up a little bit. They're going to run an up-tempo, pro-style offense. And we'll see how they come out of the gate on August 31st versus South Carolina.
Now, this team does open up with South Carolina. Then after that, they have to see Miami, then Wake Forest, Appalachian State. They got to see Clemson. They also draw Virginia Tech at Virginia Tech. But then they see Duke, Virginia, Pittsburgh, Mercer, and NC State. I see Mercer as a win for them. Maybe so a couple other of these. Maybe I'll give them a good I want to say 4 wins on this one. I give them about 4 wins for the season. Any final word?
They're going to have to definitely improve on the offensive side as far as their field position goes. As far as their finishing drives, they were ranked like 120 on finishing drives. That's not good there. And on the defensive side too, also there's the turnover margin. They were ranked like 85th, 86th. So they got some work to do. They got the work cut out. They're young on the offensive side, but they do have some senior leadership on the defense. So I think the defense is really going to have to pick up the pace for keep this team available and make some plays and give them some opportunities on the offensive side.
There it is there, folks. You heard it right here on the Boss and the Sauce Show. That's our breakdown of the North Carolina Tar Heels on the ACC College Football 2019 preview right here on the Boss and Sauce Show. Right back at you with the ACC College Football preview 2019. We're going to take a look at the Pittsburgh Panthers. Now, this team is coming off of a 7-7 year last year. Coach Pat Narduzzi in his 4th year right here. He's getting back 5 on offense, 8 on defense. He's getting back his quarterback, Kenny Pickett, who played pretty well for Pitt last year. They got some notable wins out here. Last year they beat Duke, Virginia at Virginia, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest at Wake Forest. They beat Syracuse in overtime. They beat Georgia Tech, but they did lose to Penn State 6-51, and they got stumped last game of the season at Miami 3-24. So this quarterback, Kenny Pickett, is going to be having his work cut out for him, as he does not have, well, I ain't going to say does not have, but he has question marks at the offensive line. All he brings back is 3 receivers to throw the ball to and a center. So if they could get their stuff together even a little bit, they may be able to pull off some of those same wins like they did last year. Now on defense, they bring back a defensive end, a defensive tackle, another defensive tackle, a linebacker, a cornerback, and a safety. So that's enough balance around. One good linebacker to lead the linebacker core is usually all you need. This guy, Elias Reynolds, he's a junior, 6'2", 240, and he should be a plus right there at the linebacker spot to hold the defense down. But overall, on this team, I might be looking at a 7-7 again. Let me take a couple looks at the schedule again. I'm gonna turn y'all over to BigRagoo. Let y'all know what he thinks about the Pittsburgh Panthers.
All right, the Panthers, they did wind up playing in the ACC championship game against Clemson last year, surprisingly. They're kind of a reflection of the coach, Narduzzi. He's a no-nonsense type of guy who gets the most out of his players. They did lose 2 1,000-yard running backs. That's going to hurt them a little bit. And they also bring in a new offensive coordinator this year, Whipple. He's coming in. And they've got Kenny Pickett, like DJ said, is pretty solid quarterback. They were a little one-dimensional last year. I think they're going to pick things up. They're going to have to kind of go out of their way to kind of lose to go 7-7 or 6-6. I think they'll probably overachieve a little bit more this year. They do have some tough games that they have to play up against. They got Syracuse, Notre Dame, Virginia Tech, Miami. Oh, so I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong schedule. They got Penn State early. They got Virginia. Start off with Virginia, Penn State, UCF, Syracuse, Miami. So in those 8 games, they could be 4-4 realistically. But I think this team, they should win at least 6 games, maybe 7, and maybe they get it. If they're lucky enough, they might get an opportunity to repeat at the top 2 team in the division.
Well, after looking at their schedule a little more, I think I'm going to give them 8 games, BigRagoo, maybe 9. The most difficult games on there I see is August 31st. They got Virginia, September 14th. They got Penn State. Right after that, they see UCF. They go to Syracuse. They have to play Miami, and they have to play Virginia Tech. Now, that's 6 games right there. Let's say they lose all those 6 games. They still got a chance in playing Ohio, Delaware, a Duke that's on the down, a Georgia Tech with a new offense, a North Carolina that's on the down, and which their biggest challenge might be Boston College in order to get back into the championship game again. So I'm gonna stay up on Pittsburgh on this one. I'm gonna give them a solid 8, but I'm gonna be wishing for 9 out of Pitt this year in the ACC. Any last words on the Pittsburgh Panthers, BigRagoo?
Yeah, they pretty much had what's his name, the kickoff return. A guy last year, he had 2 touchdowns, French for 2 kickoff returns for touchdowns, and then on the kicking side, they had a bunch of kicks inside they had 19 kicks inside the 20-yard line. So your special teams are pretty stout. And you know what happens in football when your special teams perform well, they set you guys up on the defensive side and the offensive side. So field position's everything in the game of football. So that's a big positive that I didn't bring up earlier. So I think that this team probably should overperform a little bit this year going forward.
So we both on the same page right here, the boss and the sauce. You heard it first right here. Pittsburgh Panthers, we out. What up, style? We keep this party going. We are so excited about college football right now. We're just going to keep the record turning and keep the record spinning. So we off to the Virginia Cavaliers. Now, this is one of the spots that I always talk about. Is 4th year for the coach right here. This coach, Bronco Mendenhall, is on his 4th year. And what does that mean if you guys been paying attention? That means that his recruits are there. It's all his show. This is where he should develop. And this year, he brings back 6 on the offense, 6 on the defense. On offense, he brings back the running threat quarterback, Bryce Perkins. And he also got 2 wide receivers to throw the ball to, a left tackle and a left guard and a right guard as well. So he's solid in the inside. He has somebody to throw the ball to, and the quarterback is pretty mobile. He can run himself. Now on defense, They bring back a nose tackle, 3 linebackers, which gives you a good core. Linebackers are always good leaders right there in the middle when it comes to tackling. Now, if they can't tackle, then the score goes up. But then they have a cornerback and also a safety. So they pretty much got one person in each skill position to bring those young guys in and teach them what to do. And they may have a chance to solid up. Now, they're coming off an 8-5 season right there where they lost to Indiana, NC State, Pittsburgh, Georgia Tech, and Virginia Tech. But this year, the schedule is a lot different. What you think about this Virginia Cavalier team, BigRagoo?
I know this team is. If your name is Bryce, they must like you there because the quarterback's name is Bryce Perkins. They got another guy named Bryce Hall, so he's a cornerback, and an emerging star on the inside linebacker position. His name is Jordan Mack. He's going to be a key component. Now they did lose two. Well, they lost their key running back. Jordan Ellis is gone, and Amade Zacchaeus, the wide receiver's out, and they lost their best athlete, which they say is Juwan Thornhill. He's a safety. He was the best athlete in the team. But they do have a lot of solid looks on offense and defense. Now Mendenhall is a defensive-minded coach, which that carries over on the defensive side of the ball for them. They are pretty highly ranked when it comes to defense. And offensively, they don't make a lot of mistakes. And like you said, 4th year going in with the recruits he has, they're going to be well-positioned based on the schedule. And coming down to the late in the season when they got to match up with Virginia Tech, that could be the telltale sign of who's going to win the ACC in their conference.
Yep. And after looking at their schedule right here, BigRagoo, they got it. They walking light over there. The tough games I see will be Notre Dame, Miami, and Virginia Tech on November 29th, last game of the season. They did lose to Pittsburgh last year, and they opened up at Pittsburgh. That could be a little tough for them. But they play William and Mary. They play a rebuilding Florida State team, Old Dominion, rebuilding Louisville team, rebuilding North Carolina team, rebuilding Georgia Tech team, and they took a note out of Clemson's book. And on November 23rd, maybe it's their homecoming too, but they play Liberty. But they better watch out because Liberty, they got points to prove, and they may get a hold of them. But coming off the 8-5 season right here, I see them with the schedule maybe getting 9 games out of this, but I'll keep them at a solid 8. What you think of it? Yeah. Any last words on Virginia?
I see 6 wins for them at a minimum. Easy wins, and then maybe a couple marginal games, but yeah, definitely a 9-win capable schedule for them, and they'll probably be looking at a championship meetup with the last game of the season with Virginia Tech. The winner of that game will probably playing the ACC championship game.
Yeah, they skip Indiana, which they lost at Indiana second game last year, and they're playing William Mary, so that should be a good win for them. And then they're going to be in the revenge game at home against Georgia Tech and Virginia Tech. So, the cards are laid on their side. Definitely a team to keep on the watch list. And they could be looking towards an exciting season. But it's always like that every year in the ACC when it comes to Virginia Tech and Virginia. One plays up, one plays down, and they usually have a good game against each other. But those are my final words. You got any final words on this team?
That's it. Let's get it on, brother.
There it is there. You heard it right here. Boss and the Sauce Show. Yeah. What up, y'all? Right back at you, the Boss and the Sauce Show, with another ACC college football team to break down for this 2019 college football season. And next up is the Virginia Tech Hokies. Now, I know a few Virginia Tech Hokies fans. I don't know no Wake Forest fans, but Virginia Tech coming back after a bad year last year, going 6-7. Also lost in the bowl game against Cincinnati. Now the coach, he's in that special spot. This is his 4th year right here. Out of his 3 years so far as coach of Virginia Tech, Justin Fuente has went 25 and 15 in his 3 years. So he has a winning record, and that's a good thing. Maybe he took a couple steps back last year, and he's trying to fix those things and move forward. Now, on offense, he returns 5. Defense, he returns 8. And on offense, he gets his quarterback, Ryan Willis, who's definitely acclimated into the system as a 6'4", 223 senior. And he gets a wide receiver in Damon Hazelton. Now, Damon Hazelton is a top wide receiver in the conference. And then he gets a tight end, a left tackle, and also a center. Always good to get a center in the middle of the line. You can do a lot of things with a center in the middle of the line. So, on the defense, they bring back a defensive end, senior, Gaines, 6'3", 235 pounds. Then they got the big boy defensive tackle, Jared Hewitt. He's 6'1", 282 pounds. And they also bring back a defensive end. And they have a linebacker, 2 cornerbacks, and 2 safeties, all coming back on the defense. Now, last year, on the ground was a problem. They gave up 210 yards per game, ranking 106, covering the run. This year, they go get a junior college transfer, Deshaun Crawford, and they bring him over out of Mississippi, and where he was over there averaging 38 tackles, including 15 for loss. Well, he had 38 tackles for the year. He included 15 of those for loss and 2.5 sacks in 2018. He's coming on over to try to fix that hole in the middle of the running game. So this Virginia Tech team, I highly like. What do you think about this team, BigRagoo?
Talk about Fuentes coming over. You know, he was the original coach, not the original coach, but he transferred over from Memphis, and they were hoping that, you know, when he got there within this third year, that they would have the big star player, you know, on the quarterback side or running back side. So the alumni, they're getting a little antsy. They don't have the marquee player, but they have a lot of, you know, roundabout local talent that, you know, they've been bringing in and whatnot. And then Bud Foster on the other side, he's synonymous with Virginia Tech ball. He was around in Frank Beamer's days. He's been there that long. But the thing that's not transferring over from Bud Foster's system, you know, he usually runs a lot of blitzes, a lot of calls on the defense where, you know, they're going to put a lot of pressure up the middle. And like you said, you know, there is some holes on the defensive side. So they have 11 starters coming back on defense, and you would think they would kind of shore some things up, but maybe just the level of talent, even though they are picked as a top tier, you know, 1 or 2 team to compete for the championship on the coastal side, they're just not really. They're kind of underperforming as a defensive unit, and offensively speaking, they don't have the big stars. So they just do a lot of things, you know, nicely. Nothing like jumping off the charts to page. They just perform solid as a team. Not bad, not super starters, but really nice. A really nice look on the field. So I think they're probably going to win at least 8 games, maybe 9, and they'll be right there at the end. Probably play Virginia, like I said. Same thing about Virginia, going to match up with Virginia Tech at the end of the season. That's going to be the look that they're going to get. Ryan Willis is the quarterback coming back. He's a senior, so expect some senior leadership there. And like you say, you know, he's got some pieces up the middle on both sides and a wide receiver. Their key losses last year was a couple guys on the offensive line, defensive tackle, and a running back, which he was averaging like 5 yards a carry, Stephen Peoples. So we'll see how some of these younger guys slide in at the running back position. They got a junior or 2 juniors, so they got some underclassmen that'll be around probably next year. Maybe they can build on that and, you know, kind of get some things going on offense and the production. You know, maybe put some numbers up that'll kind of put them over the top and win that extra game to get them in the championship game.
Well, the athletic director is definitely helping right here in the 4th year of Fuentes and scheduled a nice schedule for him. Now, this is excusable right here. Not like Clemson coming back as a champion, but this is excusable. They knew this would be this guy's 4th year, trying to give him the best opportunity to have a winning season. And here's how the schedule goes. They could go 4-0 easily. They opened against Boston College at Boston College, who they lost to at home last year, 21-31. So they're going to be playing in this game with a chip on their shoulder, and they could pull that one off. Then they see Old Dominion, Furman, and Duke. That's 4-0 right there. Then they're at Miami. They can take the L. Then they go see Rhode Island, North Carolina team that's playing down, and then they see Notre Dame. They could take that L. Then they go to Wake Forest. They play at Virginia Tech, and they play Pittsburgh, which they could or could not beat Pittsburgh. But then final game of the season, they play Virginia, who they beat last year, 34-31. Probably be the toughest game that they play all year. And being that Virginia's going to have a nice season and get about 8 or 9 wins, and I think Virginia Tech's going to get about 8 or 9 wins. I think the conference the conference game is going to come down to these two matching up right here. And I'm looking forward to seeing this, and I'm backing Virginia Tech as one of the most improved teams in the ACC. Any last words on this Virginia Tech squad?
Yeah, that's down to the schedule. I counted 8 maybe 9 W's. So that's going to be the key. Like I say, one more win, depending how they fare out with Virginia late in the season, and they beat Virginia, then it's they'll be representing the Coastal Division probably against Clemson. So you're probably looking at a Virginia Tech Clemson championship game.
I like the way that sound. And you heard this first right here on the Boston Sauce Show. Mark that down in your book right there. Championship game in the ACC, Clemson versus Virginia Tech. I like it. BigRagoo like it. And we're going to get out of here. Peace. Y'all. We had a lot of fun on this one. There's a whole lot of work in this conference. 7 teams on both sides. The ACC, Coastal Division, and the Atlantic Division. It was wonderful, BigRagoo. I had fun doing it. Always a pleasure working with you. But let's break down into one of our things we do here on the Boss and the Shaw Show, which is First Thought. So that means I'm going to list some of the best games in the ACC for the year here, and my man BigRagoo, he's going to give me his first thought on that game. August 29th, right out the box. Georgia Tech at Clemson. First thought?
Cakewalk, Clemson.
August 31st, Virginia at Pittsburgh. First thought?
You and I both talked about Pittsburgh as a sleeper team, maybe sneaking up the ladder to maybe compete for the championship on that side of the division, going against Virginia, which we also like them, and Virginia Tech. This could be a game where Pittsburgh might upset Virginia.
Texas A&M, September 17th at Clemson.
Two teams that are taking an early test on the battle on either side. Either way, I think Clemson is probably going to come out on top. But A&M is going to try themselves early, and Clemson is going to be up to the task. I think Clemson is going to squeeze this one out.
All I gotta say is toughest competition for Clemson for the whole season in that one game right there early on September 7th. Also going down on September 7th, Miami sees North Carolina on Chapel Hill. What you think about that?
Yeah, you got 2 first-year coaches going at each other, 2 first-year in the program coaches, North Carolina, Miami. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both teams are probably not going to try to make a mistake. They're probably young in the season. Look for a defensive style game, maybe a good under the total game.
Now this might be Clemson's second and the second only game that's big on their schedule, and that's Clemson at Syracuse.
All right. Remember last time they played at Syracuse, Clemson got beat by Syracuse at Syracuse. And the last time they played last year, it almost went to overtime. Clemson closed that game out in Death Valley. So look for another close game here, and Syracuse might pull the upset. We'll never know. We'll find out on September 14th.
I think this might be one of those spots right here where because of the recency bias, you might catch some value by taking Clemson in that one against that Syracuse team. Even though it's going to be on the turf over there, and that Syracuse team is fast. Clemson, they're going to be playing with a chip on their shoulder. They're going to be frustrated from the loss a few years ago and almost losing last year, and they might try to put their foot up they behind real quick. But let's jump over to September 14th, Pittsburgh at Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State. That's a battle of Pennsylvania. So it's like a rival game early in the season. I'm going to roll with I'm going to take the Big Ten in this game. I'm going to take Penn State. They're a pretty disciplined team. We didn't talk about them yet, but we will. I like Penn State in this game.
I like that too. Now, October 5th, this is a very interesting game for me. My first thought on this game would be break out the chair and all the things that you love to sit back and watch the game, because this one's going to be a good one. October 5th, Virginia Tech at Miami.
That's going to be another barn burner. You got two teams that they combine are 8-8 in league play, so they kind of splitting the load there. It's going to be, again, you got a team that's kind of underperforming on defense and a team that's overperforming on defense. So give me the better defense. I'll take Miami at home in that game.
Now, being that you are our FSU spokesperson, what you got to say about October 12th, Clemson and Florida State?
It's going to be a long day for FSU in Death Valley on that day. So Clemson will probably get the job done. Maybe a little better effort this go around for FSU, but they're not going to be up to the task quite yet.
Okay, November 29th, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Virginia Tech at Virginia. First thought.
Championship game for the ACC Coastal. Depending on who comes off of that game prior to, two healthy teams, all things being equal, I'm probably going to lean Virginia in this game.
Okay, and we have on November 30th, Florida State at Florida. How is the Florida State versus Florida rival going to go?
All right, this game has got a whole different look than Clemson and Florida State. These are the battle of the kids that played ball together in school. Florida State has always come out a little bit better in the series as a whole. Florida has had their offensive struggles. They're probably fixed defensively a little bit better in Florida State. I think it's going to come down to execution on offense. So depending on where they're both at, they both have struggled. Florida a little bit better. I'm going to lean Florida and in the swamp on that one.
There it is there. Now, that's it for first thought. Let's go over into your watches for the year. What do you feel in the ACC should be some good watches for the year?
A good watch is, I think, the value team on the Atlantic side. I'm looking at the NC State Wolfpack to kind of take a step forward, maybe leapfrog Florida State even, probably be like that third best team in that division. And my top two teams are going to be Clemson and Syracuse.
Well,
and then on the other side, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say I'm right with you right there. I definitely say watch Syracuse this year. They were very sneaky last year. They played up in some good games. They gave Notre Dame a run for their money at the first half, but they went the distance with Clemson. Syracuse is definitely a definite watch team in the ACC. I also like I like NC State as a watch team as well, but I'm more interested in watching Florida State. You may be a fan, you might be a little down, but I think that Florida State can get it together this year. The door is wide open. All they have to do is beat out Syracuse because they're not going to get the number one spot with Clemson, but they can make it to a bowl game this year. And also on the coastal side of things, I like to definitely keep my eye on Miami. I'm high on Miami, and I'm very high on Virginia Tech, just as they have it in the Lindy magazine right here at 1 and 2. And I also like a look out for Pittsburgh and Virginia. Both of those teams are at the success. Well, I know Virginia's at the success of the quarterback, and the Virginia Tech is going to be at the success of their defense. So I like those as watches, and also I like to watch how the spread offense is going to work out for Georgia Tech. Any other watches for you on the ACC, BigRagoo?
Yeah, I'm gonna look at the Panthers also as a sleeper team, and then I'm gonna probably be looking at Virginia as the ACC Coastal champ in that one.
So being that, and we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up after this. Being that this conference is 7 teams on each side, let's give them our top 3 on each side. Make it a little interesting. You want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. You keep going with it.
Okay, so on the Atlantic side, I definitely got Clemson at the number 1 spot. I like Syracuse in the number 2 spot. And I'm going with Florida State in the number 3 spot, just as they have it right here in the Lindsay magazine. And on the coastal side of things, I'm not sure about Miami at the number 1. I like Virginia Tech at the number 1 spot. I like Miami at the number 2 spot. And I'm going to go ahead and go with Pittsburgh in the number 3 spot over there in the coastal side of the ACC. How about you, BigRagoo?
Well, it's good to disagree, my man, because I'm going to flip the Virginias on you. I'm going to take Virginia in the number 1 spot, and I'm going to leapfrog Pittsburgh all the way up to number 2, and I'm going to slide Miami right behind them, and I'm going to take the Hokies and do the hokey pokey and slide them right off the scale. I'm going to go Virginia, Pittsburgh, and Miami.
Awesome, man. So what about over in the Atlantic Division? How you got it lined up?
Okay, Atlantic Division, Clemson. Clemson, I got them going all the way. Then I'm going to slide Syracuse up there, and I'm going to put the Wolfpack as my sleeper team, number 3, and then FSU, number 4.
There it is right there. You heard it right here on the Boss and the Saw Show. Stay tuned for the next conference breakdowns. I'm sure y'all loving it. We're going to keep it going. We're going to keep the energy up here. And any last words for the people there, BigRagoo?
Can't wait to see you guys for the next one. Stay tuned.
And I'll see you at the window.
And I'll see you at the window.
Nah, I'll see you at the window.